What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part 51 of my Total Warhammer 3 Ikit Claw Immortal Empires campaign. So as we saw last time, we got ourselves a very nice battle outside Karazakarak against the forces of the Crooked Moon. This basically destroyed their armies, or at least very badly damaged their armies, and will hopefully keep them here around Karazakarak to where they can't jump down to Karak-Drawn. We'll see if it works out or not. Ideally, with the dwarves probably spawning at Karazakarak, they will both damage each other, though I do imagine the dwarves will take Karazakarak and then immediately heal. I do wonder if their healing is powered up when they're an endgame scenario faction, or whether they heal of like standard amount. Well, I guess we'll see. I'm just remembering the Vlad campaign and the fact that the super-powered Dead Rise again. It's quite annoying when dealing with it. But also fun at the same time. Anyway, the goal for this particular episode is to continue our preparations here. We have 3 turns until the end is nigh, but we only have 1 turn remaining of materials at sea, which means we need to get as much money and build as many buildings as we possibly can before we lose that sweet 30% construction cost reduction. Now, we have last episode set up several big battles here. Chargelock versus Karl. Then we have the battle against the forces of Talakwa here, and then we have, well, potentially the attack with Throt against Kislev. As to which one we want to start with, I think the better of the battles is probably going to have to be Talakwa. Well, let's go with Talakwa first, and then we'll do Karl afterwards, or maybe Kislev in the middle, if that one doesn't necessitate a cinematic. We'll see. Either way, lots of money to be found in these guys. Now, I guess we're going to attack directly Tic-Tac-Toe to get the enemy out of the settlement. Yeah, we probably want to fight without the walls, and yeah, we could bombard the walls, but I just think it's more fun fighting them in the field. So, let's level up and then let's get to it. You have standard die mutagenic elixirs. I don't believe you need anything else, although Warp Smart would power up your Plague Claws. Yeah, and it would power up your Jezzails as well, fine. It's a worthwhile upgrade. And then the 2 Plague Priests, you guys have 2 points, likely apiece. You can get 1 more point in Plague. Trixie, no, just keep leveling Bless with Filth on you. Keep maxing you out. And you were the other one, so you have Wither being maxed out, but you can also have Plague as well. Lovely. And then last, Mr. Ramamute, the Packmaster, you can have Shock Collar. Oh, and 1 more point, I guess Sneaky, because, well, you could get focused down on your Brood Horror, even with the regeneration. We've certainly seen you take quite a bit of damage time and again. I guess it's because of the very low armor when you're on the Brood Horror mount. Probably necessitates getting thick-skinned on these guys relatively early, and then maybe giving them like a armor of silvered steel. But I do like the Shield of Distraction right now, though maybe we'll put it on one of these guys. Anyway, for now it's not necessary. Let's attack Tic-Tac. And let's see if we get the ambush successful or not. And okay, it is not an ambush, therefore they will be drawing out the garrison and the reinforcement army. It says Valiant Defeat. Now, what do we have in terms of threatening units? There's 4 cav units, 3 units of Cold One Riders, and then the Horned ones. Those are the biggest threats here. Of course, Tic-Tac himself, and then the Kroxigor units. We don't care about the Source as much, mostly because the Poison Wind Globadiers and the Plague Claws are pretty darn decent against them. And there is a Slan, and they do have full Winds of Magic as well. That maybe if he... Oh, but it can't really cast anything. It's a low level, so it's only got Fireball and Cascading Fire Cloak spam. Certainly annoying, but not really threatening to our army. Beautiful. Alrighty, here we go. This should be a pretty darn fun battle. Alrighty, here we go. Let's see what we can do here. Unfortunately, it looks like the map we got, the terrain is not very much to our advantage. We do have a somewhat nice clear, semi-clear, I should say, because of these trees, field between us and the main enemy host, or at least the first of them. But the reinforcing armies that are coming in are going to be coming in through a pile of trees, and thus all of our range units will be useless. We could have, of course, deployed somewhere closer to this side where there's more clearing, or maybe even back here, but I figured we'd probably want to do as much damage as possible to Tic-Tac-Toe's main army before the reinforcing forces arrive, especially since it looks like he doesn't want to immediately directly attack us, so we need to dish out damage with our catapults and our Jezzails, lest they go to waste. Anyway, obviously our Jezzails are going to be targeting Tic-Tac-Toe as best they can, minus of course the those shots that are missing by virtue of smashing into the trees. We also have our catapults always targeting the enemy Saurus, and maybe a little bit the enemy Skinks, but the Saurus are slower and thus better targets, and plus, of course, more threatening on top of all of that. Tic-Tac-Toe starting to take damage, dropping by about a third of his HP so far, and the bombardment will continue for a while yet. I believe there was 2 minutes of reinforcements on the enemy. Let me just double check here. Yeah, 48 seconds up, but 2 minutes from when it started, and thus we have 2 minutes of straight up bombardment to do. How's our ammunition looking, by the way? Yeah, looks like we still got plenty, so and this will continue. Tic-Tac-Toe's dropped to below half HP now, and the bombardment of the lizards is going okay, I would say. Okay in the sense that, yeah, they're starting to drop in HP, but it's taking quite a while. Alright, there we go, and now we've switched one of the Jezzails to continue attacking Tic-Tac-Toe, but the other Jezzail is now going for those Kroxigors. Gotta try to reduce the number of elite units that are actually threatening to our army, at least in this army. I'm actually curious as to how much damage the Plague Claws would have done to the Kroxigors if they had hit them. Maybe I should have tried to let them do so, but oh well, maybe next time. Let's see, Tic-Tac, he's very badly damage now, 633 HP. It looks like these guys are moving now, so the enemy units or the enemy armies have arrived onto the field, and there's like another full stack coming in. That said, we've done some decent damage here. The enemy's lost about, let's say, 200 troops, but of course losing their lord in that Kroxigor unit is what's critical here. Plus, I do imagine that a lot of the units of Saurus that actually got damaged there were able to lose a lot of HP, even if their model count losses weren't crazy. Anyway, now they're starting to sort of approach us, but are also sort of moving alongside, probably trying to meet up with the secondary enemy force. Tic-Tac-Toe goes down to those Jezzails without ever being able to join in combat, which is great for us. And we still have a few shots left of our catapults before the enemy gets to us. That said, though, the enemy is moving through that tree line, so we need to sort of swap our units around. Oh, and there's another skink chief that flew out, and in the same manner as Tic-Tac, we'll either go down from those trees, or maybe we'll get away, because it's probably hard to hit him within the trees there. But at least he's not going to be able to achieve anything there. Damn you, trees. Yeah, this is going to be a much bigger problem when the second army is here. No, it looks like the enemy is going to charge its other elite unit, the Horned Ones, directly at us, trying to get to those Poison Wind Globadiers, but the Blight Scabs Plague Pack, our Regiment of Renown of Plague Monk Censer Bearers, do stand in their way, plus we have both our Plague Priest and our Grey Seer there to distract them. And it should be working fairly well. There we go. They're not getting through. And it looks like the enemy is starting to move in out of the tree line as well. We are, of course, summoning various units to get in their way, as we can see in the background there, or in the foreground, actually. The Packmaster is summoning rats and distracting enemies as best he can while continuing to summon units. And then the same thing, obviously, for our other Plague Priests. All Vermintide all the time, that's what this army is about, and they're going to have to keep using this to try to prevent the enemy from overwhelming us from the side here. That's a lot of units over on this flank in particular, and we also have a unit of Cold One Spear Riders moving in, though fortunately we did manage to catch them with both our units of Wolf Rats plus our single unit of Plague Monks that was deployed over on this side. Pretty fun battle so far, though. Damn. You probably watched just some units fighting each other a little bit. Alrighty, well done, Plague Monks, and those were summoned Plague Monks, I believe, and here come even more enemies. Obviously, now that our catapults are, well, relatively useless over on this side, we have to trust to our summons as well as our piles of Plague Monks to deal with all of these source and stuff. So here they come. I'm gonna keep chucking those poison wind globes over the heads of our units and hopefully not damage them too much, get the occasional pestilent breath in the enemy lines as well. There's another one. As we do have to rely on the spell damage to do splash, as once again, we don't have those catapults. Lovely little fight though. And there we go, and you hold, Plague Monks, you hold. Wonder how well they'll do against the source here. In fact, let's just compare here. 5641, the stats are pretty darn good on us, 5641, as compared to the 2544 on the source spears at the very least, though we have no armor, which the source are fairly decent at, and they do have armor, and we don't have armor piercing, so interesting matchup if nothing else. I'm actually really curious how this would have worked in a one-on-one directly. I imagine a sensor bearer unit should be able to destroy a unit of Saurus with maces, but I would be interested to see versus a regular unit. Looks like everybody's getting bloody here. In fact, let's just see here. Our Plague Monks, while holding, are starting to get beat up a little bit. This one's doing a little bit better, and actually maybe this one can be counted a one-on-one, but this is the spear infantry, so it's not as good of a matchup for the enemy. We are still, however, managing to hold the enemy off and preventing them from attacking our catapults, who are in fact now starting to run out of ammunition. Same with the Jezzails, of course, they are basically out of ammunition, though Tic-Tac's main army at this point has been destroyed. We have one of our Plague Priests just chasing them around and repeatedly summoning Vermintides as those units come back, while of course our Lord and the other Plague Priests try to hold off the main enemy force. We're also just completely ignoring the Slan here, mostly because I don't think we have an easy way to kill it. At least without committing too much stuff that needs to be committed elsewhere. And the Jezzails can't fire on it because it's standing right in the middle of that pile of trees. Well, what can you do? Alrighty, on the bright side though, that looks like suddenly the enemy is no longer willing to fight, and we are victorious. We do have a lot of enemies to chase around here. I suppose this particular battle might be seen as a bit of a preview for when we get Lord Skroak back to try to go and retake Illustria, because there's a lot of jungle battles that'll have to happen, and a lot of Plague Priests that'll be fighting there. Of course, Scheif doesn't have a lot of Plague Monk sensor bearers, and since we now do have the Plague Abbeys, we'll be able to build those for Lord Skroak when he comes up. Actually, that reminds me, I wonder if the Spine of Sotek dwarfs will also spawn during the endgame scenario. So will there be like a very strong dwarf faction there by the time we get there? Could be interesting. Anyway, lots of chasing to do here. Obviously, we want to destroy as many of the enemies as we can so that we can take Talaqua via auto-resolve. It remains to be seen whether we can manage to do so, but, well, here we go. This is definitely one of those situations where I would have loved to have a few more units of Wolf Rats on the field. Though we do get to summon a couple of extras via our Packmaster, we really do have a difficult time chasing the enemy down. And there we are, a close victory. Certainly we took some damage, especially to our line holding Plague Monks, though I would say that the ranged units softened up Tic-Tac-Toe's primary army well enough that the rest of our army was able to hold off the reinforcements. So, all's well that ends well, I guess. Alrighty, I'm not quite sure I'd call that a close victory, as our losses at 185 out of 1200 weren't all that much, especially considering what we took out, but whatever. Now, in terms of enough units to survive, they may still be enough there for us to have to not auto-resolve the settlement, but I suppose we'll see. In particular, with regards to that battle, I think that we were sort of forced by the terrain not to get optimal use out of our Plague Claws or our Jezzails, or frankly a couple of our units of Poison Wind Globadiers. On the bright side, however, this did allow the Plague Monks to shine a little bit more than they would in a normal field battle, as they don't care about being blocked by trees like all the range units do, and they got some nice fights out of them. 1400 damage on this particular unit is very, very nice as well. And let's see, we got 10k apiece on these two Plague Priests, and then one of the Plague Priests not as much, but I guess this one didn't cast anything. Now, we do want money, but I feel like maybe if we eat captives, we can just auto-resolve the remaining garrison, and I'd really prefer to do that, rather than waste our time fighting a battle that the enemy has no chance of winning. And we got defeated Tic-Tac-Toe, which is a 10% campaign movement range. That's not bad. And ally mission successful, and we got another Scroll of Blast, which we'll be deleting. And I don't see another full stack nearby, so let us sack Telaqua. Decisive victory, good. 174, roughly the same amount of damage, and hey, all that did put us into green food again, which means only taking these places at tier 1, but still. Alright, sack, and I do have to wonder, are you still in range to take it? Yes, you are, good. And you got that income from settlements upgrade as well to your traits, and a free Ogre Blade. Very, very nice. We are going to, I think, occupy it. Oh wow, they're still not willing to peace out. Okay then. I was curious, I'd really rather send Shife elsewhere, but maybe Tic-Tac-Toe wants Shife to just keep coming after him. Luden occupied at tier 1. Alrighty, and then we'll hold it. Oh, it does have black corn here, so that's pretty nice. The growth of the black corn is plus 30 versus the Warrens, which is plus 20, so I guess we'll go for the Putrid Rice Bog. Don't collect the income, though, just to increase the growth slightly. Alright, this might actually work out to be a fairly decent province. We got a port to the Deadhead Monoliths and the black corn here. Oh, alrighty. Actually, just out of curiosity, I'm not going to do this, but to give you back to Telaqua would, barely even. Not really worth it. Alrighty, well, that's fine. Hopefully this guy doesn't immediately siege Shife, as that might be annoying, especially if there's a March Stancing full stack, like right at the Deadhead Monoliths. I don't know, unless it's a very powerful stack, I don't see it winning, at least not a single stack. Now that that's done, we got a decent amount of cash, and oh, look, our treasury is now nearly the same as our income. We have several other things to do. First of all, we have to decide where to send more Morphific. Do we keep him at Dragonhorn Mines, in case the Bloody Hands cannot be dealt with by Mutant alone? Or do we send him up north to possibly deal with Barak Var, or the Karazakarak Dwarves? I do feel like the Karazakarak Dwarves are going to be giving us a little bit more trouble, which I think inclines me towards sending him up there and just hoping that Mutant here can handle it. We may lose Bitterstone Mine and Dragonhorn Mine, but once again, I do think that we have to resign ourselves to losing some territory and then gaining it back in our pushback. Next step, Queek. Queek, you have, you have to make a choice. Now, we have 3 turns remaining. We probably shouldn't move away from Karak Azul, should we? I was thinking maybe we send them out here to deal with the Fortress of Orag, but honestly, if it falls, it falls. We can always get it back. We have, once again, we have more important stuff. Not that Karak Azul is a super high level or anything, but yeah. And this is their capital again, isn't it, rather? For the Knights of Caledor, so they'll reclaim it. I guess we could summon a temporary lord here just to annoy them a little bit, but this army won't lose at the fortress. Alright, you know what? Yeah, we'll send Queek with channeling up to Karak Azul. Now, well, you can just sit outside it. It's only for 2 more turns. Or yeah. I think what we'll do as well is, since he doesn't have his casters, since they won't get here in time, we'll recruit a temporary Warlock Engineer. It doesn't really matter who. For example, this Ono guy. We could also do an Eshin Sorcerer. Yeah, but it'll be a level 1. I'm just wondering, is there anything that would benefit us here at Karak Azul from the Ashen Sorcerer? Not at level 1, that's the problem. We need to be able to recruit him at higher level. Let's get you on the field. We'll send you temporarily to Ikit's army, and then you can just provide his support for a little while. In fact, Death Frenzy... Oh, huh. And that just made me realize something. Sharp Claws may be kind of meh, but Death Frenzy on Storm Vermin could be quite useful. Okay. Maybe we actually do want a Warlock Engineer in Ikit's army after all. Do we want one of these guys, though? Well, I mean, it'll probably be more useful than a pile of Skaven slaves in a battle. A little bit too much on the hero aspect, but if we have to defend against a bunch of stacks here, it's not like the Skaven slaves are going to do much anyway. But then again, once again, at level 1, neither is the sorcerer. You know what? Oh no, just stay here. We'll send you up. You got your Death Frenzy. Howling Warp Gale will probably not really help us against the dwarves, but at level 1, maybe. I feel like we're better off getting standardized firing drill because Ikit currently has 5 Plague Claws. We'll keep Howling Warp Gale at level 1, and just in case that the enemy brings a bunch of gyrocopters. Could still be useful in that particular case, but most of the mana has to go to Warp Lightning. Otherwise, we can get Triangulation to increase slightly the power of the catapults. Evasion, well, we probably wouldn't be putting you into battle. And I don't see Scorch being useful at all against the dwarfs because it does no armor-piercing damage, so it's kind of meh. Kind of a mess spell in general. You know, maybe we go for the ammunition. 3% isn't all that much, and who knows? If enough dwarven stacks attack at the same time, the Plague Claws might actually run out of ammo. Alrighty, and oh no, you'll be able to get to that army next turn. Lovely. Next up, who do we got? Ikit, you do not need to move. You're just staying where you are, keep generating your mana to attack the massive Orcal. Charge Lock, you're about to attack Mr. Karl Franz. Corpable, you have to stay where you are as well. Just want to separate the admin from the battles here. Thorot, you do attack Kislev and Bitgarth. Yes, you need to keep recruiting. I'm glad I did not forget about you, though I almost did. Alrighty, I think what we want to do is do a one-turn recruitment, because we're going to run out of time to get to Karak Ziflin, and I'd like to maybe at least channel for at least one turn, if possible. Alright, well, I guess the only real choice here is a bunch of Plague Monks. Watch enemies not even spawn there. Yeah, let's get more Plague Monks. I mean, I guess we could get even more Plague Claw catapults. They would be very useful in this. You know what? Maybe 2 more Plague Claw catapults. If we can't have mortars, at least we can have Plague Claws. I just think, yes, we could recruit Skaven slaves, slingers, but frankly, we'd get more mileage out of Plague Claws than we would out of Skaven slaves on the defensive here, especially against the dwarfs and their crazy armor. So, yeah, let's do this. You'll be 3 units short, but hopefully that'll be enough. It really depends on how many stacks spawn here. They could also bypass a bunch of these territories and just go for Montfaucon and Helmgart and whatever, but, well, I guess we'll see. Alrighty, Cyprus, you are up next. You know what? No, this is... Oh. Did we delete you yet? No, loyalty 1. Alright, well, I guess you're staying here, buddy. Stay out to sea. What we'll want to do now is attack Karl. Charge Lock? Do we want to level you up? You got 1 level.
Yes.
Oh, we can get Lightning Strike right now, but do we want to get Lightning Strike right now? Do we want to do that rather than drawing out the entire garrison here? I feel like no. I mean, obviously we don't have to activate it. But yeah, you know what, let's take Lightning Strike, because when enemies appear as in other enemies, where we actually do need this, it's good to have. Alrighty, and we're running out of points on Charge Log, what can you do? Alright, Mickey and Minnie, both of you, are you nearly maxed out? You are nearly so. Indomitable for you, and Indomitable for you. And then lastly, your Warlock Engineer. You have Triangulation, you have Arms Dealer, Ballistics Calibration, so I guess we're going for... I'm gonna go with Sapper, just for a little bit of extra speed, and then we can get extra powder next. And you have the Warp Lightning, but I guess we don't really need a second use of it, at least not right now. I think the rest is fine. Alrighty, great. Charge lock, time to wait. Bok the Harmless. Show Bok the Lethal how it's done, please, for once, man. Assault units, ooh, 66%. Alright, the heroes a much better chance, and frankly, Empire Captains are kind of annoying, so maybe that'll succeed. Alright, come on, Bok. Critical success, wow, I never expected that from Mr. Harmless, but good job. Now, I guess we're gonna go for the settlements, and keep trying to get more steel tech up and running. Hey, an actual success, well done. And double success, wow, alright, heroes are doing good stuff. You know what, if we're on a success streak, maybe we'll move the other heroes first, if there are any other heroes that need to move. A Ratmech, I don't think you're close enough to where you need to be, to Naggarond, I mean. And we still have 2 turns until we can establish. Huh. I wonder, is Naggarond owned by Naggarond? Yeah, it is, okay. I was just wondering if Harganeth had killed them, but it looks like Harganeth has done very well for themselves. Impressive. Oh, Naggarond's moved south. They've also done pretty well for themselves. Neat. Neat. They'll probably declare war on us soon. And we'll have to start dealing with armies sailing down here and ignoring Bellacor's armies, or settlements. Alright, well, I guess that's the last of the heroes that can actually do stuff. We still need to move you two, because you're going to Ikit. Here and here. And unless I'm mistaken, that should be just about it. Oh, Cyprus, you're gonna join Obside here and defend. Do you have a spellcaster? You are a spellcaster, okay, so that's fine. Alrighty, Slicen's a Bell Farmer, Bell Farmer's a Bell Farmer, go figure. And lastly, Cyprus, yes, we already checked you. Alright, time to fight Karl. Let's see if this one is an ambush. And nope, not an ambush again. Alrighty, well that tells me that we can get another cinematic battle going for this. It would have actually been great to ambush that Hellstorm rocket battery because that thing frightens me. But otherwise, I do imagine that the enemy is way too heavy on infantry in this particular army, which means they're gonna have a bad time. Alrighty, here we go again. Should be a pretty interesting battle. First of all, we've got an issue, and that issue is the fact that the Hellstorm rocket battery at 480 range and does in fact outrange our Warp Lightning cannons very, very slightly, but does outrange them. And the problem there is the deployment was such that we couldn't deploy within range already. If we could have deployed within range, we would have just been able to fire immediately upon the enemy. But since that was not possible, I decided to deploy everybody back up on this little hill here to wait, and obviously the Warp Fire Thrower was behind everybody so that they don't get hit by artillery pieces, while we trundle our Doom Wheels forward and start harassing the enemy units. This time we're going to be using the Doom Wheels like skirmisher cavalry, essentially, to annoy the heck out of the enemy. I think that this should work reasonably well in this particular situation, as the enemy doesn't really have much of an answer to them. They do have a single unit of great cannons and a crossbowman unit, or actually 2 crossbowman units, but the crossbows aren't very threatening to these guys at all. And since they have no handgunners, really it's only the great cannons rather, that are threatening. So hopefully the Doom Wheels can dish out a lot of damage. Plus, on top of that, the enemy army is going to be waiting around for its reinforcements to come in, so plenty of time for us to use our quote-unquote skirmisher cav. Plus, it's a fun little use of the Doom Wheels that we haven't really had too much of a chance to play around with. Usually it's only a lord by himself, just running around, or rolling around, I should say, casting stuff like we're currently doing, but not so much the Doom Wheels annoying people with their shots. Obviously, we start off trying to destroy this Hellstorm rocket battery. One of the enemy models, or one of the models of the rocket battery, does go down, but there's still plenty more where that came from. And there we go, so has begun the skirmishing. It looks like Karl tried to land, but unfortunately for him, the Doom Wheels are fast enough to avoid him. and we can essentially just ride around, launching lightning at the enemy and keeping away from the enemy infantry. Should actually be able to do a decent amount of damage like this, as we can clearly see... Ooh, and here come the warp lightning cannons. Did decide to finally move them into range at last, and looks like that was a very, very nice volley. As soon as the enemy Hellstorm rocket battery was damaged enough, and distracted enough, I should say, it seemed apparent that it would be beneficial for the warp lightning cannons to start doing work, especially since there's still a full minute left to go until the reinforcements arrive, so the enemy's not going to move towards us until that's ready. On top of that, Karl Franz is still flying around, and if we can get a howling warp gale on him, we can force him to get stuck in the air and just kill him via artillery. That's a dream, anyway. Alrighty, keep rolling, try to get those grand cannons, or great cannons, charge them a little bit, maybe cast some stuff, and then get the heck out. And there we go, the warp lightning cannons still continue to fire. Lots of lightning fire in this particular episode, between the Doomwheels and all of those warp lightnings. It's pretty fun, and yeah, the enemy can't do anything at all to our Doomwheels. This must be so irritating. Man, yeah, it's really an issue when you have no range and no cavalry to deal with skirmisher cav like this. Or quote-unquote skirmisher cav, I should say. And they're just going to keep rolling around the enemy until they're ready to come for us. And then, of course, when they do, they'll be playing into our hands. This is actually really fun. I should have been doing this earlier with this army, but once again, we didn't have the best opportunities to do so. And there we go, Karl Franz has finally moved into such a way where all the warp lightning cannons are in range. We pop that howling warp gale on him and immediately target him with every single one of our warp lightnings. Of course, everyone that staggers him is going to prevent the others from doing damage to him, but at the very least, essentially, every single shot, or every single couple of shots, is a guaranteed one to land, and he's taken a lot of damage, as we can clearly see. He drops off Death Claw, and he is done for. Now, the enemy is starting to move towards us, but they are still nowhere near to us at all, and our mortars are going to continue firing together with the warp lightning cannons, and in fact, now that the enemy artillery pieces, aka their warp fire throwers and their cannons, are basically out of commission, we no longer have to fear about them hitting our artillery or our warp fire throwers up front. So we're looking good, and we still continue to move around and annoy the enemy. Yeah, I guess it was a good idea to upgrade the Doomwheels after all, with all of our workshop upgrades, because this is clearly working out. And here come the reinforcements. Lots and lots more enemies moving onto the field, but hey, all of this is a target-rich environment. Look at all that infantry. They really should have brought something more than infantry, and on top of all this, the enemy unfortunately had the ill luck for this to be just an open field, essentially. Well, there was that rock that could potentially block shots, but by and large, an open field. And that wasn't all of our casts either, as we can continue casting. We have one brass orb remaining and some warp lightning to go down, all under a clan Skryre clanstone. Mortar's doing a little bit too much leading there. They didn't hit, but that's okay. Well, let's see how close the enemy can get to us. A lot of them are routing, but it does look like some of them will make it to us before long. Doomwheels are still working. I'm actually impressed that they still have ammunition left. Man, they actually have plenty, damn. And look at the kill numbers, 205, 123, 110, very good. And 12k damage. In fact, I think the Doomwheels are out-damaging the Warp Lightning cannons at this stage. And they will continue to work. Yeah, now we have to build an army with more Doomwheels. This is too fun, and now I want more of those. I don't know how effective it'll be, but this seems pretty okay. At least in combination. And there we go, it looks like the enemy is finally getting near to the warp fire throwers, so if anything, it's about to get even more dangerous for them. Also, I think the only damage to our Doomwheels so far has been splash damage or shots from our own units, essentially. And there we go, the enemy has moved in and all they do is run into the fires. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. What a glorious battle. Not a difficult one, mind you, but just so damn entertaining. Alrighty, and I somehow doubt that these guys are gonna get there, and the rest of them, it looks like, are just going to chain route as well. The DOOMWHEEL's still having just a grand old time running around or trundling around in the background. All the enemy infantry are done without ever reaching our lines, and the battle is ours. We still, of course, have to continue destroying the enemy, so plenty more bombardment where that came from. Oh, man. They must surely hate their emperor for leading them into this. And especially just a giant pile of infantry. Oh yeah, run at those warp lightning cannons and mortars and stuff. Have fun with that. And did the DOOMWHEELs finally run out of ammunition? Not quite, but close to it. Wow, this one's got nearly 200 kills and 20,000 damage at this point. And very, very nice. I just want to see one more set of mortars drop down on some enemies. Oh, that guy got some air too. Huh, you wouldn't think that the mortars were that explosive. Because these are gas mortars, right? Well, I mean, the explosions are poison wind globes. But I take it of a larger volume than the regular poison wind globadier's globes. I assume. There's gotta be some kind of differences. So that they can take the strain of being lobbed by a mortar. Alright, last shot and we're good. There we go. Okie dokie. Well, we're obviously going to continue giving chase. In fact, our warp fire throwers are also going to continue to do so. Mickey and Minnie are running around, though they haven't really needed to participate in this particular battle. And of course, our DOOMWHEELs are going to try to do their best to catch some enemies as well. Man, I wonder how many of the enemy is going to be left after this. And 266 out of 266 allied troop count. Yeah, they never breached our lines, and interestingly enough, it looks like none of our units ever actually hit any of the other units. Sometimes there's bad luck of one of your warp lightning cannons just like shooting through your own ranks, but I guess it didn't happen. Okay, let's see the damage here. What are you talking about, close of victory? Yeah, game. Close victory. So close. Just the closest I've ever seen. Oh, I don't even know. Yeah, that was pretty disgusting. I have no words for how disgusting that was, other than the word disgusting. The enemy had absolutely no chance. I think that was a pretty good showcase of how annoying the DOOMWHEELs can be in harassing the enemy when it doesn't have any kind of answer to them. Between no cavalry and no fast-firing units like handgunners, which could have actually damaged the DOOMWHEELs while they were still moving. The enemy couldn't do anything at all to them, allowing them to rack up 200 kills each, on par, or in some cases even beating warp lightning cannons, definitely beating all the poison winds, and yeah, DOOMWHEEL's finally the stars of the show and not just the Lord. Though speaking of the Lord, Chargelog got a very respectable 38k himself, plus his DOOMWHEEL, so that's his DOOMWHEEL and the casting, but yeah, DOOMWHEELs were definitely the stars, and I'm all for it. Not that the warp fire throwers weren't great once the enemy moved into range, and nearly 16 and 18k on the poison wind mortars as well when the enemy finally reached us. Hey, and we got another warp fuel. Now, just wait 1 second. Oh, we can't eat the... Well, I guess there isn't much point to eat the captives. Let's take the money, because once again, this is the last turn of materials at sea. Not that I wouldn't like the food, mind you, but yeah, money for now. And this guy's gonna run away, but he will stay in range, and oh, defeated Karl Franz. Oh yay, 10% unit experience. That'll be useful for a whole single chevron. And why are you suffering attrition? Oh, that's because of the Chaos Blight. Okay, that's fine, that's fine. Skrull's got a mechanic, and oh, that just reminds me, do you have... You do not have. Oh, I'm stupid. You don't have an engineering student. Okay, we gotta, well, before the end game happens, gotta go over everything and make sure that everybody has their appropriate ancillaries and their appropriate items and all that. That's gonna be a whole thing. I'll probably do most of that off screen, because frankly, it's gonna take me like an hour of just moving items and stuff around. But anyway, Charge Lock, you are going to now sack Castle von Rauken. Let me guess, what... Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Wow. Okay, the game is necessitating us fight this because the auto-resolve hates these two Doomwheels. Yeah, we've encountered this fair few amount of times before. Alrighty, I guess we'll do that the next episode real quick. Probably just gonna speed through this, as well as the attack on Kislev, both of which have to happen. But sacking both of those territories will net us another, let's just see here. Another 5k here, plus the battle results money, and another 30k here, so yeah, we should have like 80k after all that to upgrade every single building that we have before materials at sea and disappears. Plus we'll have Kislev, and we'll be able to move probably one of these armies down south while the other one starts moving northward towards Krakadrak, as per the suggestions in the comments. Other than that, I think that's going to be the main battles next episode, though who knows, there may be more fights rather, against the lizards. And considering that we've defeated most of the enemies otherwise that are nearby us, we may have a couple of quick turns next towards the end, which is lovely. Alrighty, well, and also, warp fuel, before I forget. Now, nukes are great, don't get me wrong, but we did just build, like, 3 armies that are extremely reliant on poison wind mortars, and on top of that, the fact that the poison wind mortars already exist in a couple of our armies, so I think we're going to get this plus 15% reload time reduction. It's a pretty significant upgrade. Yes, we only have 1 nuke, but hopefully by defeating tons and tons of armies when they appear and during the endgame scenario, we'll be able to get stuff out of that. So warpstone lung, and there we go. That maxes out the mortars, or at least that maxes them out here. And while we would probably want to max out other stuff here, we will probably save some for nukes and some for our Doomflare upgrades. Anyway, stay tuned for the fall of Kislev and the destruction of the Reichland faction. I'm kind of considering them destroyed right now, but, you know, auto-resolves is going to force us to fight this, so yeah. And they'll be destroyed fully next episode, and, well, whatever other battles we can find, like potentially Nogdrad here. So that might be fun as well. More ads to come. Don't forget to leave a like and comment. All glory to the algorithm. And thanks for watching.